Hi, this is Andrea Gin, and I'm the producer and one of the hosts of Pop This. We're currently taking a short 2-week holiday break, and as is our custom, are pulling up an old favorite to tide you over until we get back. Since the new year is upon us, we decided to revisit an episode we did on one of the most loved rom-coms of all time, When Harry Met Sally. Written by the late, great Nora Ephron, this movie is known as one of the romantic comedies that shaped the genre, inventing many of the tropes that we're still talking about today, like the will they or won't they storyline, for instance, or the dramatic scene where one person rushes to find the other. And, of course, the classic ending featuring an epic, heartrending speech. There are reasons that this is one of the classics, and we hope you'll give it a rewatch before queuing up this episode. It's well worth your movie watching time. We hope you have had or are still having a restful and happy holiday season, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new episode. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
Well, it's that exciting time of year.
The end.
The end. God. Yeah, where you look back at all the mistakes, regrets, things you did, and you look forward to the new year where you won't do any of those stupid things again.
I was going to say, 2016, we ended in kind of a dark place. 2017,
the fire really raged.
I really feel like we decided to live Leonard Cohen's album, You Want It Darker, on many levels. So... but for me, New Year's, I like New Year's.
I love New Year's.
I love New Year's Eve.
Yes, me too. There must be a some kind of celebration, an event. I must have champagne.
I like to either have a party or no party.
Yeah.
I like to just at least be with a couple of people that I care about. Mm-hmm. I always treat New Year's Eve either as a snapshot of where I've been that year or sort of prediction for where I'm going.
Yeah.
So that's how I sort of gauge my New Year's Eve. If it's with a bunch of people that I love a lot, that's great. And then those are the people that I've been with all year. Mm-hmm. If it's with a sort of a larger crowd or it's something a little bit bigger or whatever, that's where I'm going. We've never just stayed home, the two of us, on New Year's Eve.
Now, your husband is Spanish.
He is.
So do you do the grape thing in the mouth?
No, we've done it when we've been in Spain.
Yeah, because my friend does that now that she's living in Spain.
Yeah,
That's a hard one to do.
Well, I didn't know that was a thing. And I remember, actually, so we weren't in Spain for New Year's Eve, but we were there for student New Year's Eve. So all the students get out of, all the college students get out. Some, I don't know, somewhere around our college kids, around the 20th or something or whatever. And so because they're all leaving Madrid, or they were all leaving Madrid.
Yeah.
We came up out of the subway and we stepped into I think it was the Plaza Mayor or whatever, and there was hundreds of young people hosting their own fake New Year's Eve a week before real New Year's Eve. Uh-huh. And we did the countdown, and we got handed grapes, and we got handed champagne.
So you put one
by
in
strangers.
your mouth for each second? How does that work?
I think it's for each, you have to eat 10 grapes in
10 grapes,
seconds
yeah,
or
10
something.
seconds, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to... Really shove them in. They're small grapes, though, usually.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. Anyway.
It is. I thought that was quite an interesting tradition. But yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I feel the same way. You got to do something. I need champagne. I don't drink champagne all year. Mm-hmm. I just like the cork process. I like the countdown.
Yeah.
I like a good kiss.
Yeah.
And they always say there's another thing about the kiss indicates how your year is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
If it's a good kiss, bad kiss. I don't know if that's true, because there were some years that were fallow and I had no kiss. Sometimes the year worked out. In fact, obviously, one of those years, I managed to find someone to kiss, so that really didn't pan out at all. But I do like it as a reflective moment of I don't know if I really sit down necessarily and write down an absolute list of all the things I want to accomplish, bucket list style or something.
Yeah.
I like to kind of think about some general principles that I would like to achieve.
Yeah, like I don't ever, like, to me, like, just I have literally never made a list of like, I'm going to the gym tomorrow. I'm going on a diet. Like, none of those things to me are, for me, very feminist. I always think just in terms of like, okay, I'm going to try and like get some sleep. I'm going to try and like floss my teeth. Like very like pedestrian,
reachable goals.
Yeah. But I don't even write, like, I don't write those down. Like the kinds of resolutions that I make when I resolve to myself, it's kind of like I treat September as also a New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So like, you know, okay, this is like the time of year where like the new year starts because, you know, we're always in school mentally, even though that's not true for us at all. Haven't been in school in decades.
I know.
Or like a while anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I like to sort of just think about like, okay, I'm going to make a concerted effort to read a lot. I'm going to like do these. I'm going to go out with my friends, like prioritize like my grandma. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
I think I could take your list accidentally and live it the whole year and not notice it was actually yours. Because these are all sounding very similar to the things that, which goes to show that it's it's hard to find time to do these lovely small things.
It's just the small things. Like
it really is.
That's all it is. Like I don't know about you, but I am scheduled up the wazoo.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. And if you have a hobby of reading, which I do, and I know you do, and I know Andrea does, it's like you have to make time for it. And it almost seems like a ridiculous luxury to go, well, I'd like to stay home and read tonight. What? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, no, I love it.
But I don't know when you're supposed to otherwise fit in reading.
Yeah, so oftentimes my resolution, if I have to make a resolution, it comes down to being like, I'm going to say no to more things.
Right.
So saying
there's zero possibility you're going to do that. I'm good. You can't do that. I don't even know why you bother putting that on a list.
But again, it's a mental list. But I just try to like remember that I need to say no to more things.
I've never heard you say no to anything.
Oh, I say no to once in a while to different things. I do.
Like what?
I try really hard. Like when
do you want to come over to my cat litter cleaning party? I can hear you
saying
no to that.
When I like am in like hardcore work mode, like I wrote.
Okay, that's not the same thing though.
But like saying no and like making sure like you can't.
Saying no, but it's because you've got something else to do. But it's very complicated for you.
Yes.
Just to say no without.
Yeah.
Like and
having a different thing. I do have a lot of stuff. But so I'm going to try. I am honestly.
Like this is a therapy session.
I know.
Right now.
I know. You're like, you don't need to be that busy.
Yeah.
It's not a reward system. I am going to try and say no to more things in 2018. That's like my one overarching goal. A very a goal that I had explicitly set in mid-January last year when the inauguration happened, was to make sure that I fought the patriarchy and dismantled systems of oppression. Ooh. And I feel I've worked really hard at that this year, and I feel there's lots more work to be done.
That's one of those things that doesn't have an end. So
sure
that's
doesn't.
Probably
forever and ever. Every
practical,
year, renewable resource
more of a mindset,
goal. It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And then like a thing to make myself happy to think about these kinds of things was, and I think we talked about this a long time ago, and I have stayed pretty true to it. I was gonna wear my gold liquid eyeshadow every day to remind myself. This is again super silly, stupid thing, but it was just every time I put it on, I was gonna remember that these are the things that I need to do. I need to fight, and this is the life that. This is the life.
Wow.
And so every day I have, and every time I put on the stupid gold eyeliner or the stupid gold like eyeshadow, I think about it, and it actually like resets my goals for the day. And it's dumb, but like I love it.
I don't think that's dumb. I would like to be one of those 52 book people, like read a book a week.
Oh yeah.
I really would.
Yep.
And I definitely see that as possible.
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
So I have to, that's, people hearing this now can check back with me, see if I accomplished it, because I feel like if I, you just have to make it a habit.
Yes.
And so I would like to be that because I I love buying books.
Yeah, I know.
And I eventually do read them all.
Yep.
But not as soon as I would like.
Yes.
And I want to be that person.
Which remind me, actually, tonight when we go home, I've got the Conjoined for You in the back seat of my car.
What?
By Jen Suk Fung Lee.
Excellent.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Sorry, not to take away from your goal.
Yeah, because now where am I going to read?
I know. What are you going to do next?
But I think I've become, over the year, my resolutions, I think one of the most important resolutions I make every year, and I get better at every year, is just being kinder to myself, which is very similar to what you just said about saying no and things, but not be so hard if I do fail, if I maybe read 50 books in a year.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I feel like our world is super angry and on fire right now.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that if everyone had some sort of opportunity to just like themselves more, they probably wouldn't be so outwardly angry all the time. It's all I got, so don't tell me that that's not possible.
Well, I
don't mean I'm talking about ego. I'm not talking about like people who love themselves.
No.
I'm talking about kind and saying, that this is the best I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And the best I can do is to love who I am and to make sure everybody else that I love feels as good about themselves as I do about them.
Yeah. I think it's a really nice goal. I think that anger comes, at least this year, I think it's come a lot more from like sort of ideas of accountability and oppression.
Righteous anger is different.
Yeah, it's very different. Totally
Righteous
different.
anger is useful.
Yeah. Yes,
and I will hold on to that.
Yes.
Till I die, I'm sure. But not just as in bitter rage.
No, yeah.
No, an anger that is born out of the frustration of seeing so much disparity.
Yes.
That'll never go.
No, that will never go. That's true.
And in fact, if that goes for you, you probably don't even want to listen to this podcast anymore.
No.
If that is dissipated for you, it's going to be tough for you listening to this.
Yeah, if you're not angry and listening to this, you need to get angry.
Because I remember reading this, and this was years ago, and it still holds up. I remember reading Henry Rollins say, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention.
Oh,
Probably
yes.
many people have said that.
I think, yeah, that seems...
And it is very true. Because the world's on fire, he said, and you didn't notice?
And the fire has only grown.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, and I know that we sort of spoke about this a couple weeks ago, but in terms of, like, sort of that finding brief moments of renewal, I know that, like, whatever kind of form of New Year's, if you sort of observe this New Year's Eve and you treat that as an opportunity for renewal, awesome. If you don't, that's fine too. But like, if just find something for yourself, hopefully, if you can, to just like sort of give yourself a little bit more energy to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And if on New Year's Eve, you know the person you love and you want to spend the rest of your life with them, and you want that to start right now.
You run to them, apparently.
You run to them. You get that elevator up to the crap party they're at, and you kiss them.
Yeah.
Like you've never kissed anyone before.
That's a really subtle segue into what we're doing on this episode.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
Good.
Yes. You're listening to Pop This. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen, and this is very exciting, I think, anyway.
Whereas I'm like reluctantly dragged into this, but I'm here.
So, we're looking for a New Year's movie. This movie ends at New Year's. That's as good enough for us as anything.
It's perfect.
And it is When Harry Met Sally.
I mean, I will say, infinitely better than when we spent last New Year's with the movie New Year's Eve. God, remember?
Gary Marshall extravaganza.
Yeah.
Which began our trilogy tribute.
Yeah. Tribute? Would you call it a
Only in the way of the Hunger Games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When Harry Met Sally, I will be like, we'll give you a bit of background in case you've never seen it.
1989 romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like kind of like the first or one of those movies that really launched romantic comedies into our mainstream. Almost every single actor or actress you've liked in your whole life since then has probably been in a rom-com,
Yes.
at least in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Maybe even they've dedicated their entire lives to it. Very few can get back like Reese Witherspoon and Matthew McConaughey. Remember that. That's rare.
Yeah.
But they will often go over into that realm. I would argue, and this is for maybe another discussion for another day, I would argue that the very first rom-com is The African Queen.
Oh, see, I've never seen it, so I can't speak
I think
to
we
that.
should do that in the new year.
Yeah,
Because
I believe
based
you've
on
actually mentioned it before.
I have.
And
This is the very first rom-com. You will watch this movie and you will go, oh, this is where we get all these ideas from.
Okay.
Including When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, Billy Crystal is Harry.
Yeah.
Meg Ryan is Sally.
That's right.
And they meet when Sally has to give Harry a ride to New
They
York.
need a ride share.
They,
to
yeah,
go to New York from whatever crap.
They're early on in the ride share program.
Yeah, so
in
it's
the 70s.
In the 70s, and so Harry is dating Sally's friend.
Yeah.
And they are going to drive across the country. I guess it's take a day or
Apparently
2 days
it's
full.
18 hours.
18 hours.
18
right.
hours to
you would
drive
know that
from,
because
I
Sally
just-
does know that.
She does know that. And honestly, I have to say, I do identify with Sally.
And her
a fair bit.
Her
yep.
control and her
control, her
distribution of
orders. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
I honestly, I was like, yeah, no, I get this.
Okay.
I will also ask for, like, if I'm ordering like sweet and sour chicken at a restaurant, I will ask for the sauce on the side so it doesn't make
Wow.
my food soggy.
Wow.
Sally is someone I understand a little too well.
Well, I probably, to be honest, do relate better to Harry's garbage personality. Only in the sense that things don't bother me that much. I'll eat whatever.
Uh-huh.
I'll leave whenever.
Yeah.
I'll drive whenever. Like, I really don't care.
But I think he has like a real chip on his shoulder and sort of a pretend
Don't
thing.
have that.
Yeah, his is a pretend don't care, I think.
Yeah, well, all we're talking about is our early drive.
Sorry,
So
yes.
just we've got this first introduction so we can set up how different they are.
Yeah, whereas Harry...
And how horrible he is.
He's the worst.
And she's, well, and I mean, and I guess her horribleness is that she's somehow too controlling, which is not that big a deal, really. But she has her own issues. He has
She's
his
uptight.
issues. She's uptight.
He's like this sort of... Every dude you've ever met in like your creative
Lazy,
writing class.
sad.
Like, bitter, a little bitter, like kind of jaded. He's very I found him to be very like a combination of George and Jerry.
Yeah.
Like
it's very feeling like it's all gonna work out. People love me. I'm funny. Just cruising through the world. If you ever wanted the example of the entitled male,
yes,
this is Harry.
This is Harry.
Yes,
to a T.
To a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank God he changes. But I think when I saw it, I mean, I really came into this movie hating it.
Okay, I have seen this movie so many gosh darn times. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And in fact, just this summer, I was on a plane and I watched it again.
Yeah.
And I find it comforting in that same way that, I don't know, there's something relaxing about knowing what's going to happen next. And I mean, I think that's why we're all sort of attracted to rom-coms anyway, is because they're going to work out.
And I think we've had a lot of different feelings about rom-coms. Like, I think I have come to them... I think I had a very hard heart towards rom-coms. Mm-hmm. I hated them a lot. Mm-hmm. And I feel come around a lot in the last, like, several years. I think that a lot of the rom-com ideas, like, the reason I disliked them so much when I was a teenager was that, like, internalized misogyny that I hadn't really processed yet and hadn't confronted or dealt with. I will say I still find a lot of the sort of relationship cliches and gender cliches of rom-coms to be really off-putting. So it's difficult for me to, it's difficult. I finally thought of a rom-com that I really love. Oh my God, I should file that away till later in the episode.
Oh, okay.
But it took me a long time.
All right.
It took me a long time to sort of like come around on the genre.
And see, I think I've done a different arc than you. So I loved them instantly.
Yeah.
And then grew to be suspicious of my own love, that I started believing that for women to, for men and women to think of of falling in love as some great achievement as superficial and unimportant.
Yeah.
that we needed better goals.
Yeah.
That those are dumb goals.
Yeah.
And then eventually I came around to the fact that that's crap.
Yeah.
Finding someone you love, I'm not saying it has to be
The be all and end all.
the one thing that's going to guide your whole life.
No.
But it certainly does make life really nice.
It makes life really nice. And sometimes I think, honestly, falling in love is kind of like a real act of vulnerability.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's a nasty garbage world out there.
Yeah.
And finding someone to go along the journey with you, it's kind of like, when you're in elementary school and there's a fire drill and the teacher says, hold hands with someone, you walk out in twos.
Yeah.
So you won't be afraid and you're together.
Yeah.
That's kind of what life feels like. It's a big giant fire drill.
Yep.
You're going outside.
Yep.
You're taking care of at least one person.
At least
there.
one. Maybe multiple.
Maybe.
That's great. But
Maybe,
at least
because there's a
one.
lot of fire drills
A lot of fire drills.
over the years.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had to come around back to going, that's legitimate.
Yeah. Well, I think that because so much of rom-coms are dismissed as, chick flicks or like whatever.
Yes.
And then when something is a chick flick or esteemed to be a chick
Stupid,
flick,
yeah.
it's dismissed. It's made as stupid.
There's no body count to this movie. How could it be important?
How could it possibly be important? Emotions don't count.
Yes.
There's, we've seen over and over and over again the ways in which sort of like that toxic misogyny has infiltrated all of our systems of what we feel is good taste. And those are all crap, and they're all coming down now, which is great.
Yeah.
Super excited. And so coming to When Harry Met Sally has been, it was really interesting for me watching it this time.
Yes. Well, and I also think too that some of there's a definite quality issue with rom-coms. They're churned out.
Sometimes the people making them don't actually respect them at all.
Yeah, they're churned out very quickly. We recognize that one of the tropes of the romantic comedy is the differences of each person and how will they overcome those.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that because we're all different.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're so forced. You're like, no, I think you would have an issue with him being a serial killer. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a difference.
That's a different deal breaker.
That's going to be really difficult to get over.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And then sometimes they go over the other way, which is that the poor bland guy, like, it's not even that bland. I mean, I think we had this discussion with Reality Bites where you're like, why was Ben Stiller thrown under the bus for being a good guy?
Oh, I never thought Ben Stiller was a good guy. I
But
feel
whatever,
we thought
he was
about this, yeah.
Well, I know we did. We did.
I was just like, we wanted Winona on her own, and to
Yes,
have like
it's just that Ethan Hawke was like the cool guy, the poet
and
who didn't care about anything.
Ben Stiller was kind of gross.
You thought he was.
I think he's gross.
I thought Winona Ryder's movies were boring, and they were right to fix them. Anyway. We always have a fresh fight. Why go back?
Flashback to 2016. Go back and
exactly.
Just spend time
Enjoy
with
that one.
But like, sorry, I just was thinking about like, of just like so Harry Met Sally. I mean, this is sort of there was a chance for When Harry Met Sally to be radically different. Which
is it a real life story, you mean? Or,
yeah,
or
no, this
you?
is for real. This is for real,
okay.
which is so interesting to me. So, okay, the movie. I mean, if you
Nora Ephron wrote the screenplay, Rob Reiner directs it.
Yeah, and it's considered part of like Rob Reiner's like great run of 5 films that were amazing. We, it ends like they scrap back and forth. We'll go through like some of the things that we like and don't like about it. But the movie ends obviously with Harry and Sally end up getting together.
Yes.
Like even though they've spent this whole movie where Harry has been like, men and women can't be friends because men always want to have sex with women. And like a lot of these tired notions that have really infiltrated problematic aspects of our society today.
Yeah.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
Nora Ephron's original script had them not getting together.
At the end.
At the end.
Oh.
They didn't get together. Imagine what a radical reinvention of our whole do you think like all rom-coms would be completely different?
Yes. Well, I don't even know if we'd have rom-coms.
It's so fascinating
Although
to me.
in African Queen they end up.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
But just imagine like that a movie decides that they respect the idea of like the possibility of friendship and equality.
So they stay friends though. That's the original ending.
I don't know if they stay friends. They just don't get together.
Oh, okay.
They don't get romantically together. Maybe they don't stay friends. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But they don't get together romantically.
So was it one of those, it didn't test well in Canoga Park? Or
I guess.
What was the reason?
I guess. Like, it's just like so wild to me.
Well, that is, that's...
Can you imagine?
I don't see the point in watching a movie like that. Like, honestly, I don't see the point.
But I think it would be so satisfying.
Well, so what's the ending?
Well, so that maybe they do end up like having sex, but then they realize that they actually are better as friends. Like it's not, they had.
Well, I mean, to me, okay, what you're suggesting is still a happy ending. Like it still needed to be
I'm not talking
crafted
about,
in,
like,
even if, because staying two friends is still a good ending.
Well, that's the thing. I think staying two friends is still a good ending.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's just that I'm wondering
ending.
from you if they're just saying that they just drift off into nothingness because they were fighting at the end of this movie.
They were fighting at the end before
they get back.
Because they had sex.
Because they had sex and because she knew that this could be a great relationship and he was all, no, blah, blah, big baby. Blah.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair to Harry and to other men who have commitment issues,
the idea,
which I don't understand.
Just the idea that like commitment issues are the domain of men only is so upsetting to me.
Yeah, well, that's why we have Sex in the City and Samantha. So who gave us a chance to see that, we can all share that flaw.
Yeah.
But it was, if it ended just with them as friends, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So this is the great untold. We have no idea. I don't know personally. Yeah. However, this like idea to me that you can, I don't know, because I just always believed, of course, men and women can be friends. Like it's not like it's so egregious to me, this idea that like.
Well, but this is not it doesn't matter that you and I think that. This is supposed to be a male perspective.
I know, but it also feels like such a disservice to
it does,
men.
But I agree with you, but from the terms of this movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, you and I are like, men and women can be friends. He's saying men, no, they can't.
I know.
That was his whole deal.
And I think that's what I always hated it so much.
Yes, but then we have to figure out that he's wrong, and that's also part of the end of this movie.
Yes.
But then again, is it?
Is it though? That's the thing.
Right?
This movie basically just reaffirms everything Harry has said for the longest time, and like Sally, like even though she has these like really amazing character beats and like these moments.
Yeah.
Like, she just becomes the girl crying over the boy that doesn't love her.
Yeah.
How depressing is
okay,
that?
yes, but let me say.
I just want to say Lisa just leaped forward in her chair.
Practically fell over.
Like.
I would argue strenuously.
Okay.
That yes, we did see Sally crying because she found out her ex, who said, I never want to be married, was now getting married.
Yes.
And she's crying.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a scene, because Harry does get married, and his wife leaves him for someone else.
Yes.
And we see them have to confront the couple.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't cry out loud.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I agree. And I think like all of the humanizing parts of Harry that we get to experience, and the fact that like he is the one who ends up getting married. He is the one who says that like he has all these ideas about like what men and women can do and how they have to behave.
Wrong all the time.
Continuously wrong.
Yes.
And I think that is sort of like a thing it plays out really beautifully, and they give Harry so much to do. Now I think like it's Sally doesn't get quite the same journey, or quite the same fulfilling journey. It's sort of like it's.
But for her, it's a different thing. It's for both of them. It's an invitation to allow chaos into your life.
Yes.
And neither one of them is interested in that.
Yes.
And yet their best friends are, which was, I think as much as I love Harry and Sally.
You love their best friends.
I love that whole scene.
Yeah.
How they meet at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I love the way that was written. Oh, the credit to the late Nora Ephron.
Yeah. So
beautiful that Carrie Fisher says this, quotes a review she read.
Yes.
And he says, I wrote that.
Uh-huh.
Would that not want to be the story you told everyone about how you met? I mean, we know that they actually met because their friends were trying to set them up with the other. But could you imagine how, like, that is perfect? That is the most perfect thing.
Yeah.
I wrote something, and you didn't even know I wrote it, and it mattered to you.
Yeah.
Like, we can be...
Oh, it's the dream writer scenario.
It's the dream writer scenario. It's probably because she's a writer that she probably wrote that, and she was married to a writer.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out. But anyway.
No, but I mean, whatever. They tried.
But I just love the way that I just love the scene where they're like, okay, when they both say to them, don't make Harry feel bad.
Yeah.
You weren't attracted to him.
Yeah,
and he's
just
all,
like,
don't make Sally. And then the two of them are like, bye-bye.
See ya, gotta get these. Oh my God, it is a brilliant scene. It is a really brilliant scene. So the moment where I stopped, while I was watching it, it felt like this really like this magic moment where suddenly I was like, oh my God, this is kind of a really like I am into this. Harry and Sally have become friends. They've met periodically over the years,
yes.
Just like sort of passing each other by, and now they've become friends. And you see them hanging out. You see them like sort of enjoying their time together, and they're at the Museum of Natural History. It looks like, and the way. And I've never thought much of Billy Crystal as an actor. Like I'm not his biggest fan, but the way that he gazes as Harry at Sally when he like, and it's not that he realizes he loves her, but like we all know he loves her. We all know
it, yeah.
And he gazes at her with the warmest eyes and the most loving smile I've ever seen. And I just thought, oh my God, I am just melted. Like this like one moment where you see him like channel this and convey this pure, like unrestrained joy at what could only be described as like kind of a like, you know, it's certainly nothing she would say is her best character attribute at that moment, but he loves it.
Yeah.
It's so lovely.
It is.
I think Billy Crystal does an amazing job in like a lot of the movie.
Oh, I do too. And there's just so many. It's like the small scenes of the two, him with Bruno Kirby, and they're at the football game and they're talking and they're still doing the wave.
They have to do the wave.
And they just do it.
And his life is just like his like life is unraveled.
And then they have their best friends who are getting married, and I love the contrast of them knowing that we scored. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so, and also just that relief
they found
like
each
they
other.
have, right? That I think it's also just that like they set it up, and it's kind of around the same time that when Sex and the City was going to start and things about this whole dating in New York and being single,
like
and
6
feeling,
years after Sex and the 6 years later Sex and the City started, I think.
So Candace Bushnell would have started writing around that time about what did it feel like to be single and getting older in New York.
And I think Seinfeld started in 89, I think. I can't remember, but I think it was.
And also it's not 20s.
No, 30s.
It's 30s.
Yes.
It's definitely, like in that next phase where you're meant to be moving on. Like something else is supposed to be happening here. You're not discovering pot or something.
Yeah, you're supposed to, the milestone markers state.
You're not supposed to be putting like records in milk crates or something anymore. Yeah. You've moved on.
Yeah.
And so I think that I forget that this movie kind of captured a kind of time. For like that kind of scene, or because when you think of, as we were saying, all the other things that came after that, and so there's that sense of we can keep exploring out here, and then there's this couple that are just like, we're shutting it down, and when they get those phone calls from the other one, they just look at each other like, don't ever
I know
send me out there again.
The desperation,
and it's not quite as like, it could be viewed as sad,
I know,
but it also looks like, oh my gosh, this feels so great.
Like, that this is, I mean, I don't know for sure that those characters are going to last. Who knows?
No.
Who knows? But they found each other in the moment.
But
and
they're
nice.
also appreciation.
Yes.
There's an appreciation that we don't have to have anything more to do with that.
Yes.
Oh, and there's no way that they set these two people up as not loving each other, though.
No, not at all. Speaking of Seinfeld and Sex and the City, also Friends would start a few years later.
Yeah.
All depictions of New York that are decidedly white. There's a real lack of diversity in all of these different settings, and I'm very glad that in 2017 we have very different interpretations of New York on screen available for us. Also exploring relationships.
Yes.
And actually like beyond New York, like a lot. We've got LA with Insecure. We have Atlanta with like. Well,
we watched Waiting to Exhale.
Waiting to Exhale was.
What year was that?
That was 96. It must have been 96.
So that same sort of age group, but in a different city. That was in Phoenix?
Santa Fe?
Phoenix maybe,
yeah. Phoenix, maybe you're right. I don't know.
So it is different to see that same kind of idea of the friends and
well, it's just
in the city.
It's just like New York is such a diverse city, and like to have all of these different like iconic pieces of cinema and television be so lacking diversity. It's when Harry Met Sally falls into that unfortunate category.
Yeah,
of,
it does.
Unbearably white.
Yeah, which a lot of cinema was in 1989. So yes,
it's just why. But I will say one of the things that I love so much about. Actually, wait. Now I have to think about this.
All right.
Whether I love it or not, because I don't know. And not about the film, but like, so does the iconic orgasm scene work for you? Or is this a weird moment where you're just like, this character who is so like tightly wound is going to do this in a crowded restaurant?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's just there for the fun of everyone else is like going to enjoy this.
However, I would argue that we have spent an entire movie of Sally just being so angry at Harry and his
You're right.
And his
BS. You're right.
And an opportunity to call him out.
And she does call him on it all the time.
Right? There's always a calling out, especially around his issues of sex, right?
Yes.
When after he splits up with his wife, and he said he's starting to date, and she's like, he has a really bad date, and she's sympathizing with him, and she's like, well, don't worry, you'll have sex again. He goes, oh, no, we had sex.
Yeah, and he's just like
Yeah, and she's, what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has really weird, like, you know what I mean? He has complicated issues of intimacy.
Or classically sort of like this, this sort of cliched idea of male bravado and like he just has to have sex all the time.
The very first scene of the movie is him lying right to a woman's face. I love
true.
you. I'll call you as soon as I get there. I love you. Just like anything to say. Anything at all.
Yeah.
And so he's smug and he's entitled to everything.
And he hits on her, on Sally, his girlfriend's best friend. Or close friend, it seems, like an hour into the trip.
Yeah. It's like no standards, no boundaries or something. And so, I feel like that is the climax. No, not kidding.
I mean, I love it as like a classic scene of cinema.
Yes.
When I was watching it, I was like, does this feel like true? But I like your idea of it being vengeance based.
I feel like
that really inspires me.
Like she's so fed up so often with him, and just like the scene where he loses it on them when they're moving into the apartment.
Yes.
And he yells at them or something, and she comes out and she's, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, you're a big baby.
Yeah.
And then he actually does say to her, well, how come you keep your feelings so much inside?
No, and he does challenge her on that. And I think he does challenge her in those nice ways. And I do agree. She obviously, her breakdown comes pretty soon after that.
Yeah.
And a lot of her female friends have expressed, like, you seem to be taking this breakup really well. And, like...
And I also just like the way there is the scene, and I don't remember where it is, but I also just really admire that one scene with Meg Ryan where it's almost as if she's confronting the audience with their assumptions of her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That you think that I'm this, and I don't have feelings, and I don't...
tightly wound or whatever, and like, and I don't have feelings, and that's not,
And it's just that for her, this is how life is easier.
Yes. And it's coping mechanisms.
And it's not that she's perfect or something, but she just is so angry. Like, what is it you think this is going on here? It might even be that same scene on the stairs outside the apartment.
Yeah, I think it is.
But I feel like they're two extremely interesting, flawed people that are just trying to make their way in the world, and I don't feel a particular sense that they're trying to be perfect or anything.
No, I don't think so either. I mean,
you're right. In the world of entitled things, their problems aren't really massive, and we don't know very much. We don't know anything about family, or
we know nothing about them. You know what? I kind of sometimes enjoy movies or TV shows that just pretend the characters have no family at all.
Yeah, there's no one phoning.
Like Sex and the City. Like, I mean, Miranda's mother dies, and they have a funeral at one point.
Yeah.
And Carrie mentions a father, but like we don't know anything about anybody's family.
No, nothing
at all.
No,
we know so much more about their male counterparts' families than we do ever about the women's families.
Yeah. We get sort of flashbacky
stuff. Charlotte has a brother that Sam sleeps with at one point, but that's it. I think.
And then we kind of get a sense of Carrie's background because she's got that old boyfriend from.
But like very little.
But no.
Like just like almost nothing.
It's almost as if they were just born in New York right there. They're ready to go. I'm 31. I'm hitting the town.
Yeah. But Harry Met Sally, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't hate it anymore. I don't find the whole my fantasy scenario is that the end is actually an act of revenge by Nora Ephron on the people who were like, oh, you have to give this a happy ending, whereas she had them not get together. And so she's like, well, fine, I'm going to write every cliched thing I can imagine, and I'm going to send.
Was it a cliche then though?
Well, I mean,
like
that's maybe she was like, I'm going to
set the standard.
I'm going to set the standard for cliches. But like, you know, Billy Crystal has to like run through the city. He has to find his way to like this woman. It's a party at midnight. No, I think we have had like those kinds of journeys. Like even honestly in Shakespeare to a certain extent, like there's like a party and like the person has to like make their way through all these different like sort of.
Or the really weird An Affair to Remember, which is what later will be Sleepless in Seattle is based around. And there's a lot of like.
Sorry, we've just had the voice of God, Andrea Gin, tell us what actually has happened. So I'm just going to blow your mind right now, Lisa. So Rob Reiner had fallen in love, and because he was happy, he rewrote the ending and got a happy ending. Nora Ephron had actually written that they don't get together, they drift apart, and then they see each other on the street a number of years later and review their lives and drift off again. That's it. So Rob Reiner did that to us. Or not us. You know. Anyway, Rob Reiner wrote the happy ending and just sort of swiped it away from Nora Ephron. Wow. Well, I mean,
I suppose I can see the merits of both.
Yeah, wow. I wonder if like the original When Harry Met Sally screenplay still exists in some iteration, and like people could like sort of, you know, remake that.
It does make me wonder because it's a totally different story, but The Way We Were ends very similar to that. Mm-hmm. So sad.
Yeah, I've heard. I've, again, never seen it. I know. I just keep blowing your mind with things I've never seen.
It's actually a really good movie.
I've heard it's great. No, and I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I just haven't.
Barbra Streisand has a new special on Netflix.
Yeah, I think we talked in the past about like how we should watch it, but we just never have because it came up a lot in Gilmore Girls, right?
It sure did.
Yeah. So I know.
Well, now I just blew the ending for you, but
that's
I think
cool.
You could see it
I figured
coming.
It was coming.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
So, I mean, I can see, like I said, I can see the merits of both. I can see. I don't think it would have become as iconic.
No, I don't think so either. Can you imagine?
Because I don't see the kind of twist though. I'm not asking for M. Night Shyamalan here or something, but I don't like. It strikes me as that's the story that we started with, and then we sort of ended the same way.
But isn't that like I like that because there's like some sort of quiet dignity and just like I don't know, exploring people's lives.
Dignity.
Oh, okay, fine.
I do not believe in quiet dignity. Sure.
But not quietly.
And dignity's nice, but not quietly.
All right. I mean, I find the ending a little, It doesn't appeal to me that much.
The ending is, oddly enough, that makes sense. If Rob Reiner was feeling that great, that's why we like watching that movie because we get a vicarious charge of that kind of feeling. Mm-hmm. Like that if someone did do that, they came and found you. And I do think, to be fair, she was not happy with that.
No, she was not.
She was very angry.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Just barging up in here like that. Like it wasn't perfect.
No. I mean, and I think that's the only thing that like makes me not hate it fully, that kind of ending is like just she is still at least allowed to have like her burning indignation and feel her feelings and articulate how he's made her feel. Yeah. But it also like, do you feel like there's something like a little bit like that we saw all the time, but like these sort of slightly like, again, I don't know if it's cliched, but like the woman gets angry at the man and then she won't speak to him and he has to try and win her back. And I feel like that's sort of like that's a narrative that I've never been particularly inclined towards. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah,
well, it goes with our belief that men are screw-ups.
Well, and I get so mad at that
No, I
generalization.
know, but that's
I know.
that's a kind of a film trope, but that it's also if you ask a lot of men, they'll go like, "Don't trust me." I mean, like
But
honestly,
it's just like such a weird like it's like the the human centipede of like the patriarchy. It just feeds itself, and then like we don't ask
no,
anyone.
it's a bad.
Yeah,
no, it's bad
just-
because I did read
yeah.
a really fantastic essay on the Me Too, which is about the bumbling man.
Yes, the myth of the bumbling
Yes,
man.
and it
It's
was
so aggravating.
so aggravating and on the nose.
Yes.
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. I suppose another way to see it is if sadly the bumbling man keeps sexually harassing women, but there's just there's a sweeter, gentler sort of bumbling man that
Keeps his dick in his pants.
well, yeah, I like that one better. So I don't. It's hard. Sometimes we watch these movies and I don't know when we started having like these characters. Was it? Because like in again back to African Queen, which I'm like I always say is the very first romantic comedy for me. There is something about him that is softened by a woman. Mm-hmm. His personality. Mm-hmm. So it's not quite that he's not so much bumbling, just so much as he's kind of angry and rough. And then someone introduces another element.
Yeah.
And so that changes him. And so I guess we're sort of trying to get into that with Harry Met Sally, that he realizes that he's better with her, that she's a better person. But then you don't always want to.
But then you have like that weird imbalance of power where you elevate a woman, and that's not doing her any good or any favors.
Isn't.
Like it's not.
No, that's why we have a word equality.
Yeah. So it's a complicated thing. It's a complicated thing, but damn if I didn't love the way he looked at her in that museum. I know.
Oh, see, now I can't sing. I mean, imagine this in your head, and the way you look tonight.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Just imagine.
Imagine that.
But I mean, that's so many of our songs, so many of our love songs.
So your favorite romantic comedy is it The African Queen or is it?
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
So I was thinking about earlier. I was trying to think about like what because again I came to the genre a little later and a little. Through more twists and turns, I suppose. But I think like my favorite romantic comedy at this point is actually Obvious Child by Jenny Slate, which was a few years ago.
Yeah. I like that movie a lot.
I really loved it a lot.
That also had a happy ending, and I think some people probably weren't very happy with that.
It had a very interesting ending, like it's sort of happy, but it's sort of also like a little bit you don't know what's going to happen with them, but you know that she's like
going to look like they're going to try.
But she's also, I mean, everyone called it like the abortion comedy, which I think is like a kind of that's a kind of downer. It's half true.
Yes.
Yes. But I mean, and I like the idea of it.
It's generally not the structure is usually accidental pregnancy, but we'll have the baby anyway and it turns out well. So this definitely was.
I do enjoy like the more real version of that, which is like abortion romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And that to me has been like one of my favorite. I think one of my favorite movies of the last few years. Mm-hmm. Also, weirdly, it's not really a romantic comedy in a traditional sense, but Celeste and Jesse Forever. Did you ever see that?
But that's so hard.
Oh, it broke my heart on many levels. It's
like trying to sit through 500 Days of Summer. I did that once and never again.
Oh, 500 Days of Summer I didn't love as much, but Celeste and Jesse Forever, I actually sat through it twice because it just wrecked me so much, and I love it a lot.
No, I was too hard.
It was hard. It was really hard. But those are two.
I don't know if those are those rom-coms?
Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's what I want to be a rom-com, which maybe is not fair.
To me, to be a rom-com, it needs to end happy. That's the definition of a rom-com.
Well, Obvious Child, I mean, both of those end happy. They're just not in like the way that you think sort of the scripted happiness is.
I wasn't. No, Obvious Child fits that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Celeste.
Celeste and Jesse Forever ends happy. I mean, they're not together, but it ends happy.
It's. I don't know. I don't know.
Like she moves on and he moves on and.
Yeah, I don't go with that one. And 500 Days of Summer was just wrecked me as well. Like really, really threw me to the ground, jumped on me.
I'm sorry.
Started over again and then did it again.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So I'm gonna watch When Harry Met Sally.
Andrea Gin again, just voice of God coming into my ear.
Yeah.
She suggested, what about Bridesmaids as a romantic comedy?
Yeah, fantastic.
That's actually wonderful. I love it a lot.
It's a great romantic comedy, and it ends happy.
It does end
for
happy.
everybody.
Yeah, I don't even think of it as a romantic comedy. I guess because I think of it so much as like.
But it is.
It is.
It is.
No, it for sure is.
It absolutely is a romantic comedy.
I think of it so much as like sort of a friendship comedy. So much more.
Yeah,
and,
I would go with it as a comedy with touches of romantic comedy.
Yeah.
But at the end, I mean, it really is.
It is a romantic comedy, and doesn't that just elevate sort of like the genre's like less good aspects into like something like if we broaden the genre?
Yes, I definitely think that if you start with the two disparate characters and how do we make them fall in love and go through obstacles and get together at the end, that is the essence of all romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Then the middle bit's all up to you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
Is the middle bits. And Bridesmaids' middle bits are great.
Middle bits. Bridesmaids, all of it is great.
I didn't even think that was vaguely sexual, but okay.
Middle bits just makes me laugh hilarious. I don't know why. I just don't know. Okay, so.
Pop.
It pops.
Oh, for
it pops
me. It'll just keep popping. I'll watch it. You know, strangely, when I was in Denmark 2 years ago, I was in Tivoli Gardens. They're like big theme park, and it was on free in the middle of the park, and I pulled up a chair, and I'm like, will I ever get to a point where I go, no, I've seen this enough times. No, probably not.
Yeah, I've never reached that with Bridesmaids, actually, now that you mention it.
Oh, no, I've seen that good 4 times now.
But I'll always watch it.
Oh, I will always watch it.
Always.
No matter what.
Always and forever.
Oh, yeah.
It pops for me too, which is a really, like, I came into this hating it. So this was a really big shift for me. Not that I'm not looking for applause, but it was.
You're not gonna get me for liking.
Not from you.
Very no.
But like, so it does pop for me. I do still have problems with it, but it does pop. Yeah.
Sure.
I know. On the spirit of that, we love to recommend things at the end. I'm gonna sneak in first because I was gonna recommend something else, but now I'm recommending this. So Daniel Zamparelli and Dina Del Bucchia, they wrote a book, a collaborative book of poetry called Rom-Com.
Oh, yes.
In 2016, and it's wonderful.
Vancouver.
They're both from Vancouver originally, and it's fantastic. They know their rom-coms. They love their rom-coms. And this book of poetry both celebrates and sort of like challenges a lot of
I'm not saying that
notions.
Romantic comedies don't deserve some criticism.
No,
as we mentioned, but yes.
But these two writers love romantic comedies.
Yes.
Like love them.
Yes.
And one of the things that I remember I remember interviewing Daniel and Dina together for a piece that I was writing about the book at the time. And Daniel said something to me that like really just sort of like has stuck with me for so long. He said something about like what is unfeminist about a woman choosing to pursue love.
That's what I said to you. That was like well, I know you've said it to me as well, but I believe I don't know for a guy, I guess.
But but Daniel just was like, this is an amazing thing, and particularly he was framing it like that for him. As a young gay man growing up, like there were just so few films that at all showed a romantic and a comedic narrative of homosexual relationships.
Yes.
There was nowhere to turn except to romantic comedies.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it was just really important for him. And I really loved a lot of that.
Yes.
Anyway, rom-com.
So on a whole other side of things, I saw Atomic Blonde.
Get your New Year's off with a kick. Yeah,
Charlize Theron. And I know the actor has a real name, but I always call him Mr. Tumnus.
That's nice. That's a fine name.
When he was in the Chronicles of Narnia, he played Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I can't think of his name right now either, but I mean
Scottish actor.
Yeah.
Could be James.
Oh, it's the what's his bucket? He's also in doesn't he play like not Magneto but the other one?
Yeah. That's him.
Yeah. James McAvoy.
I was so close.
So close, yeah.
James McAvoy, yes, or Mr. Tumnus, you choose. So we have this, it's based on a graphic novel.
Yes.
Charlize Theron is like James Bond, basically.
Yes.
Late 1980s she's a British spy. She's got to go and find out why her lover, who she won't admit is her lover, died for some secrets. It's actually a very complicated plot, I found, and I'm not very good with complicated plots. I'm always that person in the theater going, why did he always with them? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll miss crucial parts.
Okay.
Crucial scenes. But she does go to Berlin. It is like, I love spy movies.
Yeah.
I can see the Bourne fraternity identity. I love spy movies. Love them. So the fact that Charlize Theron is in late 1980s Berlin, where it's all kind of crumbly, it's before the wall is down.
Yeah. It's
all like super glamorous yet shoddy at the same time. Mm-hmm. The music's amazing. There is a scene where Charlize takes on 10 German policemen and beats the crap out of all of them to George Michael's father figure. That will always warm my heart. But there are great set pieces like that. It's super amazing to look at. 2 cautions. 1, if you don't like really, really violent films with giant body counts, this is not the movie for you. And the second thing is if you find just like really harsh violence troubling, don't watch it.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, those are good warnings for me usually, honestly.
Yeah.
So Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
Happy
you so
New
much
Year,
for
2018.
listening. Bring it,
it's the
2018.
year that we are really going to do something.
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 We have, we can do this, guys. Thank you so much for listening. You can hang out with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com.
And Andrea Gin is our producer. We record at the Vancouver Public Library. And Happy New Year, all you wonderful people.
Yeah, Happy New Year.